All right, everybody, welcome to Moonhawk Studios Presents, and I am your host on a returning, what is it, victory lap?
We found you
I
not
guess you
dead
could
by the
say that.
dumpster this week.
Found me at the bottom of the dumpster wallowing in the muck.
Yeah, we'll call it that.
Still getting the finances in order, which seems to be my perpetual state of being, so I've decided to go ahead and be here this week. With me in the studio, as always, is my good friend Adam.
We've noticed this.
Like, you're just kind of holding everything together with your bare hands at this point.
Only screaming whenever he's not on air.
Well, we'll get into that. Mac stuff I don't really have to deal with. Family is another story.
Oh boy. Yeah.
On technicals and new fiber internet, Petty Fan.
I'm coming at you guys at the speed of light.
Literally, it's
Yes.
fiber optics.
Yes, actually light this
Horrifying.
time, not that fake bullcrap the cable company tries to peddle.
And we have a Alex here, wearing many hats.
Yes.
Are you missing somebody?
No, I can do this in any goddamn order I want, Kevin.
Okay,
I
it
keep
sounded
seeing
like
you
you
sweating
forgot
from
me.
here, bro.
And Kevin's in the hizzy.
Ah, hi, I'm here. Did you forget about me?
No. I can do
It's
this in
because
any
the
order I
end.
want.
Yeah, because
Mac, you're also a
I'm
bad
like, wait
liar.
a minute.
We're
Yeah, that's not
We're-
the order we do it in.
we're having
The order is.
We're having a neurodivergent existential nightmare here right now because I changed up the order of the introduction.
Maybe we should move forward.
Why don't you just stop that so we can keep going and get on the right track? Now we are.
Indeed. All right.
Right.
I was waiting to see if there was another comment there.
No. Anyway.
Purportedly, we have a great show for you tonight, but before we get into that, let's start the news, Adam.
So my 4th of July was fairly low key, due to my brother's kids not being in the picture. Instead, we went to a barbecue chain joint. Yeah, it's not the excellent local experience or whatever, but I know where this place is. And their meats are pretty good. Like, it's more their barbecue sauce that was never impressive, but I can't really indulge in regular barbecue sauce anymore, so there's no loss there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the weekend was dramatic. Because the long and short of things is my brother's car got waterlogged, and so he's dealing with that and the loss of his day job. Honestly, it's a story that's right out of your playbook, Mac.
Mac has a new kin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was because he was doing a delivery for Uber Eats.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Yeah. That's why I say that. So, sure, you can especially relate since, you had to replace your car because of such things as well.
I mean, repossession is
a different beast.
Yeah. But I mean, the air conditioner failed, the transmission was iffy, the shifter selector was damaged, the advanced track system was failing, the onboard trip computer was going bad.
The body in the trunk was starting to smell,
Yeah. That's because the panel on covering the spare tire was loose.
Anyway, so that's my news for this week.
All right.
Kevin,
Kevin?
what's...
I mean, the funniest thing, it's a really funny thing about the fact that I really don't have anything new other than my usual bit of saying that I work at the AMC every weekend, and although I'm having a bit more longer shifts now, considering it's the summertime and we have a lot of stuff going on. Hint: there's a big movie coming out next weekend.
Did they ever get the restock in for the concessions, or?
They did. We did. It was just a case of a couple days. We did run out the day before that Wednesday, though. So,
yeah, I was about to say that was going to be a shit show if that restock didn't happen.
We're gonna be ready for this because it's probably the highlight of the summer with this Deadpool movie. So
probably
we're not gonna be flat-footed. I can assure you of that.
Oh Lord, Deadpool and Wolverine is coming.
In more ways than one. Wink.
Yep, wow. And we've got well, I mean, it's not necessarily far off from the promotion.
Bro, have you seen the promotional stuff? I'm very much on base.
Yeah.
It's on point. It's on point.
It's on brand.
Anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna get a lot more shifts because we did a lot of hiring the last month and a half or so. So, yeah, people are coming in, and we're getting fully staffed up for the summer. So, yeah, we'll be ready this time. We'll be fully ready this time. That's for certain. I have to believe. I can't believe that they're going to be flat-footed again. So.
I love the I love the Deadpool video game. I know I'm a cult of one on this, but there was a great part in the very beginning of the game to where you go and eat a slice of pizza right through the mask without taking it off. Anyway,
so that's my news. Petty fan, you're up.
Alrighty. Well, as we kind of alluded to, I have now dropped my cable internet provider of 28 years in favor of a local fiber ISP. So, hooray! The stream has been rock solid. I think we only lost like 30 frames over fragments, and that was because we had a big lightning flash. So,
missed a great opportunity to say that the stream has been rock hard.
We are a highbrow establishment.
That's a lie, and you know it.
I know. I tried to hold it together, and I couldn't. I failed.
I was going to say more like a sloped brow establishment, but high hairline, sloped brow, smooth brain over here.
Smooth brain, definitely. Anyway, yeah. I had fun calling the cable company to cancel because, oh God, did they really try and lather on me? You've been with us for 28 years and didn't like that I brought up that they were a monopoly and that we finally have competition and we're leaving them. I think the thing that pissed me off the most is about 12 years ago, we had either a tall truck or high winds hit the cable line that goes across the street from the pole to our house, and our internet's never been the same since. We've had multiple techs come by and look at it. As I was calling to cancel, they said, oh yeah, we have like level 2 techs we could send to come fix it. That honestly made me the most angry. Because you would figure after like the third or fourth time I, called to get it looked at, they would have sent these level 2 techs to look. But, no, you're offering this to me as I'm so mad to cancel. People.
It's like, well, if you could offer me synchronous upload speeds.
Yeah. Like, honestly, more upload would have been nice, but I would have just liked a more stable connection. Not, anytime it rains, we risk the show going down.
No, I was suggesting that you condition it with the impossible.
Yeah. Well, no, they tried to offer me like $100 credit in like I think 2 months free service, And I literally told them you could offer me free service for a decade and I wouldn't be interested. Yeah, I was not happy. But my sister said that the listening to my end of it was better than TV, so
Uh-huh.
we're still looking for a job for Mom, so that's fun. She has a few more interviews and stuff at least lined up. And yeah, other than that, the big main thing is we now have better internet. Much better, in fact. So I guess, Gullix, it is now your turn.
Well, my 4th of July ended up being kind of a weird bust. I had initially been planning on trying to take a trip down to visit my grandparents over the long weekend. But while I was in the middle of that, my aunt and uncle decided they wanted to have a cookout. I think I mentioned this during the last show because we must have known about it by then. Then, on the day of the cookout, which was going to be Friday, it got canceled because my uncle, who was going to be the host, tested positive for COVID. Not a bad case, but we have old people, so best not to give them any exposure. So I ended up having basically nothing to do that day because it was way too short notice to reschedule any of the things that I had rescheduled so I could do that back to that day. So I ended up missing out on a couple of things and having some other things on the wrong day, which was weird. That's pretty much the biggest thing that's up with me. Otherwise, it's been hot and humid, and I don't like it. Video game wise, I've been playing Splatoon 3 a bit. The next Splatfest, which is like the second to final Splatfest probably, is this weekend. I think this is weird and the choices are weird. The theme is if you could reserve a place for just you and your friends for a day, would you do a beach, an amusement park, or a palace? And I'm like, I'm not a beach person. I'm not a fast rides person, so I benefit relatively little from having from having no lines at an amusement park. And part of what I like doing is people watching, so that doesn't help me at all. And I guess you could relax in a palace and it would be nice, and there might be some interesting artifacts to look at or whatever, but that's a weird third choice. And actually, it's technically the first choice from left to right, which is the order they always do it in. So I'm like, I guess I'm on Team Palace, but I'm not super enthusiastic about this one. And it's a weird choice for, like, probably the second to last one of the game's active lifespan. Keeping in mind that they will definitely keep the servers up for quite a while after it. But yeah, I guess that's about all I got.
Okay. Well, as always, working to live and living to work. I decided to go ahead and take a breather. Since I'm already late, I've decided to take a breather this week and do the show. But things are moving apace to try and get all of my shows functioning again, including the Not Safe for Work streams on Picardo and the VTubing stuff on Thursdays and Fridays, etc., etc. One of the things that I mentioned in our internal section of the Discord server for the studio is that in spite of her best efforts to thwart me, I have recovered the folder that was deleted from the Dropbox by resurrecting my Mac Mini with its time machine.
Ah! How about that?
Turns out I have time machine saves going back 5 years
Huh.
on my external hard drive. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So the 180 episodes of MSP that I recovered are now back on my hard drive. And anybody who wishes to attempt to thwart me in the future can kiss my ass.
Challenge accepted.
Well, pucker up, dude.
Oh,
Wait, what?
Yeah. I don't know which part of the challenge you were accepting, so I just arbitrarily decided for you.
why? Why did we go down this path?
Yeah, I know. Sometimes the joke clanks. So anyway, I have them back on my hard drive as well as the After Effects AEP file, which we will be discussing at length in the after segment of the show. Yeah, we had created a whole After Effects template and everything for the episodes where I could plug in the episode number and guest if we have that information available, and I believe it is still up on Podcast Alley. But we did have a number of episodes that were done on Ustream and Livestream, so I'll have to kind of listen to them and try to figure them out. And thankfully those are encoded by season and date, because I put down the season and episode number, and the Procaster program that they used to use for Livestream actually encoded the date that it was made into the file. I just have to sort through all this pre-show, post-show stuff that we recorded separately to try to figure out what is actually what as far as viable episodes. We may have less than 180, or it's entirely possible that the podcasting project actually has more episodes now that they've had a chance for their spidering software to sift through. What is it, 25 years of the internet that the Wayback Machine has been around?
Like that.
Because
so.
previously it had the shell of the web pages from TalkShoe without the underlying information behind it. So you would go download podcast and it would give you a blank file. It would give you like a download.html file or something. And now there's a separate page that contains all of the actual MP3 files. It's too bad, because I would like to find that person who did the final interview with Carl Masek and say, hey, by the way, you could probably recover your TalkShoe podcasts on the Wayback Machine now. I remember when this first happened, I found an article where somebody was lamenting the death of the TalkShoe archive. And I'm like, well, remember, the internet is forever. And when they said that, they meant it.
Yeah. Well, some people like to claim that that's not the case, but they, of course, they don't know about the Wayback Machine.
Yeah. Unless you specifically request archive.org delete something, it's there forever.
Yep.
And the giant circle jerk that is the aggregation system is an infinite void. It just keeps spiraling out of control forever and ever and ever, and self-propagating. Every time you delete something, a new copy of it pops up somewhere else. So just forget trying to delete your sins. They are there forever. That way you can be canceled over and over and over again. As people are traumatized anew every time they stumble upon it. as far as like the whole arcade anarchy thing that I'm working on, I have one more piece that I want to get, as well as obviously finishing the upright arcade machine that I built around the little Pac-Man device that I bought. But I want to get this dual arcade joystick thingy that has a RetroPie built into it, and then I think I'll be ready to roll on this whole thing. The only other thing I need to do is reconstruct the bootloader for the VTubing machine. I was doing this whole experiment where I was doing all of the steps to convert it to Windows 11, and the hard drive was formatted MBR, and I needed to reformat it GPT, and it decided to hide the master boot record and the bootloader, and it no longer boots into Windows. And I'm trying to tread carefully on this because I don't want to delete all the software and files that are currently on the computer, assuming that I haven't already done that, which I know is a big ask. It was great because I downloaded a third-party program that everybody was recommending. That they said, "Oh yeah, it's real good. It won't delete any of your files, except when it does." Like, there's a 1% chance that it might screw up your entire file system. So, I landed in the 99th percentile on that one. And just for those of you who don't understand Stanford Achievement Test scoring, 99th percentile means you're in the top 1%. I know that's confusing to a lot of people. But yeah, I landed in the 99th percentile. And so we may be screwed on that one. I may be reloading that machine from scratch. Exciting! Yeah. The fix is relatively simple. I need to download the Windows 11 boot drive and etch it onto a flash drive and use the recovery tools to fix the boot up files. And then everything should be fine, because what happens is, Windows 10, like Windows 7 before it, had and Windows 8, of course, but we don't talk about that. It had a reserved partition that had all the boot up files, ostensibly to prevent it from being hacked. We all know how well that worked.
Yup.
And when you convert the hard drive from master boot record to GPT, that partition shrinks noticeably. And apparently turns the files into gobbledygook if you didn't install it that way on purpose. And there is a way to install Windows 10 onto a GPT partition, but it's not obvious in the standard installation process. So, and you have to have the latest version, yada yada yada. So that's what I'm dealing with right now. But other than that, everything's moving along pretty well. I started going through all of my old computers and hard drives and stuff, looking in Dropbox, et cetera, looking for all of the animation files, because I'm going to start looking closely at that again, seeing what assets I actually have and what I need to replace. I am going to keep 90% of the footage that Varius and I co-created. However, I'm ditching the 3D because certain segments of the fan base were of the opinion that the 3D was no good. I mean, I thought it was pretty neat, but some people strenuously objected to it. And since those some people are financial backers, I have to take them seriously. kind of essential to the whole operation, you know.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it for the moment. Other than that, like I said, rideshare ho. That's what I'm doing right now to try to get everything back in order, so that way we can stop having delays, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so without too much further ado, I think we should get to the main event here. Tonight's guest is John Stoll of the Atari Network. John, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, tell us about the Atari Network. What do you do? What is your claim to fame?
Well, we cover everything Nintendo. No, we cover everything Atari, and
It was so obvious.
I like to throw them off, you know.
Yeah.
No, we cover everything Atari. Started out primarily covering the 7800, which is kind of an odd console, I guess, to focus on. But there's a void there on YouTube, especially. That console is underrepresented, and it kind of just grew into everything. I wanted to cover the new set-top box, the VCS, the 2600, obviously, and after that, I had a desire to cover every single thing I could get my hands on.
I'm a bit of a Jaguar aficionado myself.
Oh, are you?
I am. Yes.
Excellent.
Oh,
I'm a collector.
So the Jaguar is awesome, though. I feel like. Do you like the Jaguar controller? Let me ask you that.
No,
you don't. Okay, well,
I do not. I do not. But that's okay. I've learned to accept it, especially when trying to mash buttons playing Mutant Penguins from Outer Space.
Yeah, right.
Is that like the last one that actually had the phone pad at the bottom?
Oh yeah,
It was.
Yeah.
Also, Petty is now in a frothing rage. I made him review Attack of the Mutant Penguins a few years back.
You're still a monster.
I know.
I have all the staples. I have Tempest 2000, Missile Command 2000, you know, all the Defender 2000, etc., etc.
So you got the good stuff then.
Yeah, the only one I don't have is Doom, Silent Doom, as we like to call it.
Right.
It's rather expensive.
Yeah, it's getting up there. All those games are really getting expensive for the Jaguar. I think it's finally getting some collectability to it. Maybe a little too much so.
Yeah, I did manage to get a hold of the main reason to have a Jaguar, which is the definitive version of Raiden.
Oh yeah.
There are people who would fight you over that statement.
Well, you know what? This is my channel, and they're welcome to try. All right, so that's a good warm up right there. I think we're just going to get right into it. Adam, unleash the fury.
There's so many points of entry here, so to speak, but I think a good starting point is the 7800, since you seem to have enjoyed it that much that you go by the 7800 Pro Gamer in some sort.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think the Pro Gamer thing is kind of funny because the 7800 was the Pro system, so I took the name the Pro Gamer, and I guess people think I'm being arrogant about my gaming ability, but it's actually a play on Pro system because like I said, that was a console that I had in my childhood. I was lucky enough to have that and the NES, honestly, but the 7800 it's had a special place for me. And after going to Atari Age, all the places you go to for Atari stuff, Atari IO and stuff, it turns out that I'm not the only one. I guess I'm not alone out there because there is a huge community of 7800 supporters and a fantastic homebrew community at the moment too that is churning out incredible games for the console.
Yeah, I do remember. I do remember that because that was another reason that I picked up the Jaguar, was because of the homebrew community. It was of interest to me, since it's basically rooted in the, oddly enough, Amiga platform.
Yeah. Yep.
Another forgotten gem of gaming.
Not really. Not if
Amiga,
you're in
huh?
Europe. Like,
Yeah.
trust me, they still remember the Amiga over on the continent.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, they
Well,
remember all that
well,
stuff.
Well, I know Amiga for I know Amiga. I know about the Amiga for 2 words: preview guide,
Mm.
which actually did use the Amiga in the 90s. So, yeah. And I happen to have a Amiga emulator running an actual kind of modern version of that right now, actually.
Oh, I was fully prepared in 2000 to build an Amiga spec computer.
Mm.
I have somewhere around here in this apartment, buried under piles and piles of stuff, possibly in a trash bag somewhere, a copy of Amiga OS 4,
Mm.
which is a post demise release.
Mm.
Proceed.
No,
Anyway. Sorry, I hear Amiga, and that's a bit of a trigger for me.
Dust my
Anyway.
1200 out of storage.
Anyway.
Anyway, so do you still have the 7800 that you had as a child with you?
Yeah, oh yeah. I have the original 7800. It's untouched, but then I had to get another one and have it AV modded. That way I could get a better picture, especially doing this doing the YouTube thing. I wanted to have better quality video and stuff. So I had to upgrade from RF to what's that, AV or RCA or whatever they call that. And now I've upgraded to the 2600 plus, so now I can use an HDMI cord and capture stuff in high definition for YouTube. Yeah, it's an incredible upgrade going from RF, which I mean, I don't know. You'd be surprised how good that signal looks if you have a CRT TV. It actually, I mean, outside of all the fuzz and the interference, it don't look bad.
I mean, it was built for that.
What's that?
It was built for all that.
It was built, yeah, strictly for RF. There was no AV capabilities on the 7800 at all. So in order to get that, you have to basically put in a mod chip and take out the RF. I don't think you have to, but you bypass it. It was taken out of mine completely, so it was definitely, I guess, behind the ball, especially compared to the NES, which of course is
if I'm remembering correctly, the 7800 was supposed to launch in like 1984, but
yep.
Because of the crash, it was basically shelved until the NES came and revived the industry. And Atari figured, they had this inventory lying around. Why not?
Yeah, that it actually. So it was shelved, and of course that's when Warner decided to get out of Atari completely and sold off
Not
to.
completely.
Well, yeah, they had the arcade division. You're right. They decided to get out of the home electronic portion of Atari, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Jack Tramiel got a hold of the company, he wanted to release the console for a bargain bin price, and there was some issues there with the people that created the 7800 because it was not created in-house. Actually, it was created by General Computer Corporation, or GCC. Yep. So he had to pay them off. So it could have came out even sooner. But ultimately he had to tie up some loose ends, and yeah, he sold it for far less than what they originally intended to. Of course, at the time, like you said, it was many years later. They probably couldn't have gotten much more for it if they had tried. I mean, they could have if they probably were willing to put forward the software and invest in software. But Jack was very frugal from what I've heard. I've interviewed and talked to several people who dealt with Jack, and it's apparent that he did not want to invest in the future of video games like Nintendo did.
Like Jack Trammell, from what I understand, was quite the character, not just in terms of his frugality, but how do I put this? His own company kicked him out.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
Like
sounds like a certain other modern mogul.
Mhm.
I'm raising my eyebrows. You can't hear that on radio, but
that's what that swishing sound was, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah, and it is worth noting the 7800 was. I'm not sure if it was like finalized or not, because it's got some problem.
Yeah, it has. It does have some, especially if you're going by the audio. The audio is no better than the 2600 audio. It is absolutely
they literally use the same Pokey chip.
Yeah, well, they didn't use Pokey. They used the TIA. The Pokey was in the Atari 8-bits, I believe, in the 5200, and then the carts could have the Pokey chip in them, but of course, Jack only invested in that for 2 games. And I heard that was begrudgingly too. He wasn't excited to do that.
It was Commando, and I can't. Art Castle, I think.
Mando and Ball Blazer.
There we go.
One of the games that did have superior audio on the 2600, of course, was Pitfall 2, because Activision put a lot of extra hardware into that cartridge. It was quite expensive in '84. In '84, when I got a hold of that, because they put so much extra hardware in it, because the game was just so far beyond what the 2600 could do on its own.
Yeah, that was an incredible part of that game. I love the 2600 version. There's something about that one, even over the 5200, or I guess I never played any other.
I have the ColecoVision version of it. It's interesting.
Is it good, or is it just?
The color scheme is a little off.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Among other things, I mean, the ColecoVision always had superior graphics and sound in general.
Right.
They were definitely attempting to make a more true to arcade port of things. My personal favorites, of course, being Donkey Kong Jr. and Mr. Do.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much experience with ColecoVision. I've had requests now that Atari has the Intellivision, I guess, name and properties. I'm getting requests to cover that, and I don't know. I don't know about about all that. Intellivision seems kind of neat, but and I got so many consoles already. I don't know.
You know, I got my first Intellivision for $4 with 8 games.
Yeah.
Oh wow, you overpaid.
There's a couple of problems with like real Intellivision hardware. First of all,
the puck controller. God damn it.
Yeah, it's one of the worst controllers ever made, and unlike say the ColecoVision, you can't switch it out with an Atari or a Sega Genesis controller.
I mean, I would say that the 5200 controller was worse, considering the fact that it had no snap to center.
Yeah, both of them are up there with all-time bad controllers. Like, they're just all in
At
different
least the
ways.
Jaguar controller pretended to be ergonomic.
Right.
Well, I mean, yeah, with that whole curvature groove on the bottom of it that just locked your fingers.
Right.
I mean, I guess the operative word was try.
Keeping in mind that now that I'm 47 and developing arthritis in my hands, that holding that giant cinder block of a controller is not exactly my favorite thing to do. Trying to play Wolfenstein 3D, you know. My Leben!
That's a great port of that game too. I talked to a guy who was involved with the development of the Jaguar and a lot of the games, and I had to ask him about that controller, and essentially he said there was just some things that they had to concede on to get the Jaguar out, and I guess that controller was one of them. I don't know. I kind of like the controller myself. I think maybe I'm the only person in the world that likes the Jaguar controller, but I don't think it's that bad. I think the worst part is trying to hit the number pad in the middle. There's no comfortable way to do that. But outside of that, it's kind of like an oversized Genesis controller almost.
It depends on what you're using the Jaguar controller for. From what I understand, like, playing it for the first-person shooters isn't too bad, but trying to use it for the fighting games...
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah. Like, I haven't heard one person swear by that.
Kasui Ninja.
Not helping that the Atari Jaguar's fighting library is just the drizzling shits.
Hey, let's do some of these FMV. Let's do some of those FMV fighters. It works so great for Mortal Kombat.
Right. I mean, they had to, right? Wasn't that a requirement back in the early to mid 90s?
I think that specific sliver of time, especially.
Well, but but they also had a mandate that they had to use, ex-porno actors to do to play the fighters themselves. So,
what's funny is the guy who played Angus in that game, and if you remember one person from Kasumi Ninja, it's got to be Angus, right? The guy that could shoot fireballs from his kilt.
Yep.
He's popped up on Facebook, and he's I don't know what he's doing, but he's been asking people to interview him and stuff like that. It's kind of a crazy thing because I talked with him a little bit, and my former podcast partner Vinny, we were talking about grabbing him for the podcast. But if you follow Atari Facebook groups, you could chat with Angus if you want, which is kind of weird. I don't know why you would want to, but he's out there.
Oh man, that game ranks up there in infamy with Way of the Warrior for the 3DO.
Oh yeah,
it might not even be the worst fighter for the Jaguar.
No. there are worse.
Yeah, looking at you fight for life.
Fight for life is awful.
This was back in 2009. Adam will remember when I first went on this kick getting the Jaguar. I got the console for like $200 in box.
I had many questions about that.
Yeah. Sadly, I did not. Because I watched the Angry Video Game Nerd coverage of it, and I decided that I had to have this just for that purpose. But I never bought the CD.
Yeah,
largely because I didn't want a non-functioning toilet in my house.
You should have invested, I guess, at that time, because man, those CD units have gone up in price. I remember looking at them when they were I think they were $400 or so, maybe $300. And if you look today, they're about $900.
But it's like I was investing in a lot of these eBay bundle packages where I got 3 games for $6, that kind of thing.
Right, right.
Those kinds of deals don't exist anymore.
No, you can't get that anymore. You will not find those deals anymore on Jaguar stuff.
Mm-mm.
And incredibly, I mean, the 7800 games have gone up too. It seems like a lot of Atari stuff is going up in popularity lately, which is kind of odd because they've always been kind of the value systems, the
Could
easy
be
to
related to
afford.
Atari 50.
Yeah, that's kind of when it started almost.
Sounds about right. I mean, because Atari 50 is really like the first time stuff that's not the Atari 2600 got out into the wider world.
Right, yeah. The Atari 50 was an incredible release for Atari. I mean, it really did help the, I guess, the memory of the company kind of bring back the good days, and it was such a good package. I mean, I think there's been other ROM compilations probably with better games and better variety, but when it came to just the sheer amount of love and the documentary portions and the games and the recreations of some of the games, I think the 50th was far above and beyond what most compilations have been.
Well, I mean, the people who worked on that also, how do I put this? Cracked the code with certain systems, like
Right.
they came up with the world's best Atari Jaguar emulator.
Yep. And I remember because I don't emulate. That's one thing I have nothing against emulation. I encourage people if if you buy a Jaguar game, you're not supporting the developers anymore. I mean, the people that created the games have long since moved on. You're supporting somebody on eBay, to be honest.
Yeah.
So if you need to emulate to play them, then by all means do so. But I don't emulate, and I did a video a while back, and I was talking about how to play Jaguar, you have to get the games, and somebody was like, "No, dummy, you can emulate these now." That's how far out of the loop I am with emulation. But I just found that out that there's actually a good Jaguar emulator.
Well, yeah, it was. Yeah, the emulator that they used for the Jaguar, I think they released the source code or something like that. Like released it to the community.
Yep, and I guess it works really well for all kinds of games. I think most of the library.
It's pretty amazing to me that in the actual run of the Jaguar, not one game actually utilizes the custom 32-bit hardware that they built into the machine.
Right. Yeah, it was sadly underutilized, and again, there was a lot of reasoning for that. But
yeah,
all the developers found it. Well, all
documentation.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
the developers ended up finding a way. Speaking of emulation, it's kind of funny that most of the games on the Jaguar are emulated Amiga ports because basically they shunted it through the 68,000 chip that they were using for sound.
Yep.
So, like, the main processor is barely doing any lifting at all.
Oh yeah, it's really underutilized. I think Doom is probably the retail game that's used the most processing power, and that's just because those guys over at id in those days were programming
Wizards.
Maniacs. Yeah.
I forget the sci-fi game, the sci-fi helicopter game that the homebrew community actually released this. It was quasi in development in '96 when the Jaguar was basically going out of style, and I forget the name of it, but it is available on the homebrew market.
Skyhammer.
Skyhammer, yes, thank you.
Yep. That's an incredible game. That's probably one of the best examples of what could have been.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably low tier PS1, but for the Jaguar, it's an incredible achievement. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you can get it on eBay for only $338.
Yeah, those games are getting up there, but there's alternatives. So for Skyhammer, if you know where to go, you can get a fairly reasonable copy, and by fairly reasonable, I mean $80 plus shipping.
Mhm.
But there are websites out there that I feel like they're, for lack of a better word, they're just well-kept secrets that some of us know about who are interested in Atari stuff, but other people don't. And I can't tell you how many times I see games sell on eBay, and I think to myself, you could have got that for half the price if you knew where to go. It doesn't seem fair, and that's part of the reason why I started my channel, is to kind of let people know that there's we're out here. The homebrew people are still out here making the games. There's more resources. You can support the homebrew developers directly. You don't have to go to eBay. I think it's an important thing for the more casual audience to know, and not so much us hardcore fans and Atari Age forum dwellers and all that stuff.
Right. Adam, let's dig into the process here.
Okay. Well, I did want to ask something else before we got into that. And that is you mentioned the homebrew scene quite a lot. Do you cover like recent releases for, well, not just the Atari 7800, but Jaguar and 2600 and all of them?
Say legacy systems as a blanket.
There you go. Yeah, I try to, and I've actually recently had a lot of suggestions asking to cover, I guess, the cutting edge homebrew games and kind of get them out there. I try to recent release for the 2600, and yeah, there's recent releases for that console. That's crazy when I talk to people who don't follow Atari, they're always shocked to hear that games are still coming out to this day. But John Van Ryzen just released Alien Abduction on cartridge over at Audacity Games. So I have a review this Sunday going up for that game. And for those who don't know, John Van Ryzen, of course, did Hero on 2600, 5200, all the releases for Activision back in the day. So, these games are still being made, and they're getting coverage, but probably not as much as they deserve. Because I think now with the 2600 plus being released, more people are going to be interested in this stuff. There's an easy way to play them now. You don't have to, go through the cruddy RF signal. You don't have to get your console modded. You can get a 2600 plus and play not only all your favorite old games, Adventure, Haunted House, but you can play the new stuff too, and there is new stuff coming out. So I think people will want to know about that stuff.
Yeah, I was wondering about that myself because when I heard about the release of the console, I was definitely intrigued.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and again, not only Atari themselves are putting stuff out, and they did I don't know if you guys are aware of the Mr. Run and Jump game that they just released. It's really good. It's actually not that bad.
Spoke to the developers of that last year.
Did you?
Yep.
Oh, amazing. I'm gonna have to dig back and listen to that. That's awesome. But yeah, not only are they releasing stuff, but there's a lot of other companies. Champ Games is doing awesome work. I mean, they are putting out stuff that blows my mind even to this day. Even knowing what they've done before, they still consistently put out stuff that will make you wonder if a stock 2600 can do that. And of course, they have the benefits of all the knowledge that's been acquired and the new chips and stuff. But still, it's still incredible to play it on any 2600 or even the 2600 plus.
Indeed. And yeah, the retro scene has been growing for a lot of systems. But Atari is, especially the Jaguar, is like the first one I can really think of where I was aware of a post life, homebrew scene.
Yeah,
A lot of it has to do with the fact that Hasbro, they owned Atari, released all the patents and copyrights or whatever, all the source to the Jaguar, and basically said anyone who can make, who has the capacity to make a game can do so.
Yep.
And,
Yeah, that was an incredible moment. And again, we talked to somebody that worked for Hasbro at the time, and there was a lot of fans of Atari working for the company at the time, which is just incredible, and a lot of people on the inside pushing for the same thing as the community. So it was really an awesome story there, that there was so many people that loved and respected Atari within the company, that they were willing to give the community what they wanted. And ultimately, a couple of companies were asking for it too. Telegames was one that really wanted the Jaguar to be open because they profited a little bit on it. So, Songbird too. Songbird Productions has done fantastic things with the Jaguar. I mean, unfortunately, they have some releases that I wish would go back to Atari for reasons I guess I won't get into, but they also have a lot of fantastic releases of their own that I'm just thrilled that actually got to come out.
Indeed.
Anyway, so finally shifting back to your channel, looking at your video selection here, it's a real range of stuff. I mean, to give our listeners some examples, some recent at time of recording, your most recent video is the Lunar Lander Beyond VCS review. Then the video before that is 5 to try Atari 78 homebrew. Then you've got a review for Doom on the Atari Jaguar. So you certainly cover the entire range of Atari, let's say.
Oh yeah.
So what is the determining factor of what you make into a video at any particular moments in time?
It really comes down to, I guess, what is happening a little bit. There's a couple. It's hard to ride the line with Atari right now. There was a time where anything you did with Atari was going to be basically a historical piece, and that was fine. But now today we have an active Atari that is embracing its past more so than ever before, really. I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen so much love for their classic properties from within the company. So when deciding what to cover, I kind of listen to what the audience wants. Lunar Lander Beyond was something I wasn't going to cover. I'll be honest, I wasn't excited for it. I was kind of turned off by it, to be honest. But, we had a portion of our viewers that really pushed for it, and I want to keep the viewers happy, especially the ones that are returning to the videos and consistently commenting and supporting the community and joining the Discord and everything. I try to listen to them and show them that I am listening, and I do want to cover the things they want. But then some of it, like you said, the Doom review, there was literally nobody was requesting that one, and it's probably been the best video on the channel in a long time. So it's sometimes you just kind of got to go by what you feel like playing and what you think people want to see that maybe they don't know they want to see, or something that they've forgotten about. Let's put it like that. So, I mean, there's so much to cover. I don't have to worry about the Atari Network not having something to cover anytime soon. I mean, I try to do, if I do a Jaguar review this week, I tried not to follow it up with another Jaguar review. I tried to do 5200 and then 2600, and and now we have the capability to record right off of links. So now we're going to do some link stuff, and we just got a Atari XEGS, so we're going to throw that in there. So there's so much to cover that it's almost intimidating, to be honest.
Well, that is the kind of the thing. Atari made a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they did.
It was honestly one of their problems.
Yep, it's them and Sega, right?
Atari, especially, like even up to that, like their dying, the original Atari's dying day, they were still coming up with new systems and stuff. Like the Jaguar VR, and like they were going to do the combination Jaguar CD, and I think there were a few other things that were in development when they shut down.
Oh yeah, they love to develop stuff. That's for sure.
I mean, they had an entire console that's just scrapped because another console was ahead of it.
Yep. And I mean, I don't know it. They could have released a lot more, I guess. They definitely could have gone with the another console instead of the Jaguar, but I mean, really, they were a technology company for so long, a computer company. They were on the cutting edge of consumer electronics and even just computing in general for such a long time, and I think even after they were no longer at the forefront of that, they still wanted to be, I guess. It like you said, it probably led to their ultimate demise, but at least that iteration of Atari's ultimate demise. But the name lived on. There was value in the name, and it bounced around to the highest bidder for quite a while, and I guess still is living in that regard.
Right. But that does get into a topic I wanted to breach at some point, and that is Atari's computer legacy. Do you do any videos on like the 400, the 800, at all?
So that's an area that I'm currently lacking in on the channel. My experience with the 8-bits, the computers in general, is basically nil. I have no experience with them. I didn't get my first computer until 1999 because Y2K was going to destroy all the computers so you could get one for $200 or something like that. So I have no experience there. I did get the 400 Mini when it came out. And the plan was to kind of cover things through that avenue, but we do everything on real hardware at the channel. So at every 7800 game is captured off of a 7800 and now a 2600 plus, but it's still captured off a console. We waited a long time to do the links because we were getting a modded links that could capture video from, and I don't want to do reviews of Atari computer stuff off of a mini console, so we're going to shore up that side of the channel. I almost want to bring somebody on that knows more, because for me, I'm not the right person to talk about the history there, I don't think. But it is something I do want to cover on the channel eventually.
It makes sense in both regards. Like Atari's computer history, it's kind of the neglected of the neglected. Yep. Unless, once again, you go to Europe, where, like, especially the Atari ST was much bigger there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not as big as the Amiga, but it's still, it gave it a good run for its money, let's say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the Atari, I mean, I was surprised how many people finally remember at least the 400 and 800 and the ST line, like you said. That it's remembered here in the States too pretty fondly. There's a lot of people who there's a lot more people than I initially thought that were following Atari right to the bitter end, which is it's
Well,
admirable, but kind of foolhardy. But that's what
that that and the Atari ST managed to carve out a very specific niche back in the late '80s. That was sound and music design.
Yep.
I wish I could have had a functional version of that to play some of the Star Trek licensed games that came out, because the Atari ST and Amiga versions of it had full color and sound, whereas
Oh, wow.
the PC version was 4-color CGA graphics.
Oh, wow. See, I know
And
I was at a. Go ahead.
internal PC speakers. Ugh.
I was at took the kids out to get some ice cream the other day, and I have quite a few Atari shirts and Atari hats and stuff. So I was decked out in the Atari logo just because that's all I have in my closet, I guess. And I had a guy look at me and say, "Atari, are they still around?" I said, "Oh yeah," and he said, "I used to make music on a Atari computer. I think I still have it at home." And I said, "Oh really? You wanna sell it to me maybe?" And so you'd be surprised how many people out there, just seeing the logo, it brings back stuff, and you hear stories of how people were making music on the ST or stuff I personally don't even think of when I see Atari, and it means different things to different people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing about Atari. It was in a lot of fields and was around for a good long while.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
not to mention that there have been, let's say, many Ataris over the years.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Atari has been around in many forums and many different iterations, I guess. Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, it honestly gets a bit hard to keep track of it all.
Right. Oh yeah. There's just so much history there that it's impossible, I think, for any one person to be able to completely cover all of it. I mean, even when I think I've done as much research as I possibly could on a topic and then put a video out, there's always somebody that knows something that I forgot or didn't know, and it's just such a vast history. It's impossible to cover it all, honestly.
Right. I mean, it is a over 50-year-old brand company, what have you. So it would make sense that its history could not be unschooled by one person alone.
Right, right. Yeah, it's a lot, and especially since it's been in so many different hands too. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, every
you sometimes
generation has an iteration. The Atari Flashback, the My Arcade licensed units, and all that stuff. So
and I'm surprised too. There's people who have told me they're younger generation, I guess, or people who are in their early teenage years who are just now getting acquainted with Atari, and their understanding or what they think Atari is, or I guess what it is to them, is so vastly different from what it is to me or anybody else. Really, it's incredible. Because to me, my Atari was the 7800, obviously. I never had the Lynx, but I was aware of it. I used to see it in magazines, and I don't know, I just never got there. It was the Junior, the 2600 Junior, the Red Box 2600 games. I mean, that's all the Atari stuff I remember. And I wasn't even playing games or thinking of games when the 2600 was on the market. So my Atari is a lot different than other people's, honestly. So it's just an incredible company, incredible history.
Hmm. And So you've mentioned a couple times about a podcast of your own that seems to no longer be in production.
Yeah, that's a sore spot for the channel. We did a podcast that was we didn't have a lot of viewers, listeners, but we had a pretty diehard following, and unfortunately, I had to. There was a point in time when I was really focused on the channel, and a lot of other things in my life was suffering because of it. Um, I had to let some things go, and we ultimately decided to drop the podcast because it was one of the lesser viewed projects we were working on at the time, and I really regret it at this point. I mean, we had a lot of fun doing the podcast. It wasn't a matter of that. It was a matter of I was spending too much time working on this YouTube project and not enough time focusing on the family life and the 9 to 5 job that's bringing in money. So it was unfortunate, but we did the podcast. It was initially the Atari 7800 Forever podcast, started by Vinny Vineyard. He had me on for a guest spot one time, and he after that said, "Hey, do you want to be the permanent co-host?" And I said, I don't know, I guess so. And that's actually what led to the creation of the channel, because if I was going to do a podcast, I felt like I should have an online presence, and I had zero online presence at that time. And so it grew up into the Atari Network podcast. We took on my name at his request because my channel had surpassed his at a certain point. And I would never be arrogant enough to say, "Hey, now let's use my name." I mean, that was he brought it up. It was his decision to change the name, and I was okay with it. Obviously, I mean, I was happy that my channel had grown to such a size, I guess. And it's not even like it's a big channel, though. We have 3,000 subscribers, but we have 3,000 dedicated subscribers that are active in the community, and it's an awesome thing. But again, we had to let the podcast go, and unfortunately, I think it was probably not the best decision, but it was one I think we had to make at the time. And people think my former co-host Vinny Vineyard. A lot of people think me and him had a falling out. We did not. We are still good friends. We talk almost daily. So I just so people are aware. I mean, we don't hate each other.
Well, that's good to know. No bad blood between former partners.
Right. I think people are so used to that these days. Like if something stops, then it must be because you no longer get along with each other. It's not always the case.
Sometimes it is. Like sometimes it's not. Like,
right.
But how do I put this? Would you are you now in a position where you could revive said podcast?
Me personally, I am, at least at this moment. My former co-host, he is for those that don't know, he is a pro wrestler. What's his spiel now? I gotta remember. He's a pro wrestler, actor, musician, and professional hat flipper. So he has a lot of other projects going on, and he actually has a potential deal to get him on television right now that he's really focused on. So not now that it's a good time for me, it's not really a good time for him. But at some point down the road, we'll get it back together, I'm sure.
Get the band back together.
Right.
Yeah.
You should try to get Vinny on here one time. That guy is he's a character.
I mean, if you got his email address, we can look him up.
Yeah. After the show, I'll pass it on to you.
Neat. Anyway, so what's your opinion of current day Atari?
I for current day Atari, I appreciate them a lot. I think, like I said, this iteration of Atari, where they're at now with Wade Rosen being in charge, they really seem to have an appreciation for their past. They seem to want to do right by the community. They are very active where they probably should be at Atari Age. They bought out Atari Age not that long ago, and they've taken a role in there where they're actively talking with the community, probably the biggest segment of their community. So they're showing a lot of respect to the community, a lot of respect for the IPs and the games and just everything that's come before them at the moment. I think it's the best Atari we've had in a long time. I'll put it like that. I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's probably the best we could hope for at this point. If we could have an Atari that listens to the community or at least respects its history, I think there's nothing more we could ask for, honestly.
That's well put. Like, it seems like a lot of developers are putting their faith and trust in this new Atari, given that,
Right.
Digital Eclipse and Night Dive joined their family.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, they've been
Sure.
forging a lot of relationships, definitely.
Anyway, so I suppose my final question at this point is, what do you got upcoming for your channel?
We're constantly working on new stuff. Everything, again, the channel just turned 1 year old on the 2nd of July. So we're still early in the process, and I'm always trying new stuff. I'm trying new types of videos that sometimes they work great, sometimes they bomb. Right now, we're going to try to do a monthly homebrew spotlight, basically, where almost like what you're doing here, we'll do as different segments. We'll do the first segment where we'll cover up and coming stuff or stuff that's in the early stages of being worked on, and then we'll have a spotlight game and those videos, and then we'll probably end with updates on projects that we mentioned before. So I'm hoping to do a very homebrew focused series of videos. It seems to be what people really want. And I think it would help the developers a lot. And the more we can spread the word about what homebrew developers are doing, the more they'll be encouraged to make more games. And that's what it's all about, really. And other than that, we'll still be doing our reviews and our Thursday videos and all the stuff that we've been doing, minus the podcast.
Indeed. Right then. So I'll see if any of my colleagues have anything further for you.
I think I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah, I think you answered everything I thought of.
Like, nope, nothing. Get him out of here.
I'm not trying to rush you off. I just don't know.
I'm kidding.
John, my traditional closing question for the interview is always, do you have any appearances or special events coming up on your channel that you'd like to promote before we part ways?
No, I'll be at the local 7-Eleven later.
Oh my!
Stop by for a Slurpee and an autograph.
Oversized Slurpee. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. No, I have nothing to promote. Subscribe to the channel. I got all kinds of social medias. Atari Network or 7800 Pro Gamer, and that's really it.
Stalk me on the internet. I'm lonely.
That's a mood.
I need approval.
John, it was a pleasure having you on the show. As things develop, we can always have you come back, and we love talking about retro video gaming on this channel, particularly on my channel, of course, which is Mac Paladin's Retro Gaming Emporium. So
there you go.
Yep.
Nice job.
All right.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. It's been a lot of fun.
All right. That was John Stoll of the Atari Network. Be sure to check him out on YouTube. Adam, I think it's time we talked about entertainment.
Yeah, and so once again, we have to turn to the Paramount saga.
Which has taken a very, very interesting turn again. Which, well, actually, no, there's no Failhorn this time because
Success horn?
Not necessarily that either.
Sound like
yeah.
I think it's just a cash register dinging.
Maybe.
No, yeah, it's that. It's that and the old Windows sign-on sound. The old Windows sign-on sound.
98, right?
Yeah. No, the old one. That one. The old one from the 90s. Because I'm an old guy, you see. No, I'm talking like Windows 3.195.
Oh, good lord.
That's what I just
the
did.
old one.
Yeah, that's
you did 95, but I'm more. That's the one he did was 95. I'm more 3.1. I'm thinking of.
Okay, no one remembers
Anyway,
that one.
Anyway.
It's just kind of a trilling bell sound, but yeah.
Anyway, Paramount and Skydance. Once again,
Paramount. Ha.
He will show himself out.
I will buy.
It will not be taking a trip to the Black Mountain.
Anyhow, what has happened is that after a 2-3 week period where it looked like Sherry Redstone had decided, I don't want to dance with Skydance anymore, it turns out that she actually did at the end of the day. And a couple of nights ago on Sunday night, Skydance officially announced that it will it has indeed agreed to the complex deal to eventually take over Paramount Global. Now, again, the plan is this: Skydance will take over National Amusements Incorporated, which is the company owned by Sherry Redstone that controls 80% of Paramount's voting shares. That's going to be followed by a merger with Paramount Global as a whole. And as a part of this, they've officially announced that David Ellison will be the chairman and CEO, and Jeff Shell, the former chief executive of NBC Universal, will be the president of the company. And, of course, it's a bit of an interesting situation because, if you recall, Jeff Shell abruptly left NBC Universal last year after he admitted to an inappropriate relationship with a woman inside of the company. So there's that. The deal is expected to close in the first half of next year. They did a tweak of the whole share price situation. Class A shareholders will get $23 a share. Class B stockholders will get $15 a share in cash and stock election. They sweetened up the deal and eventually got Sherry Redstone to eventually agree. Now, there is a 45-day go shop period attached to this, where there will be additional alternative offers considered. But it's probably not. Nobody's probably going to match this deal, especially as it's now clear that Sherry is officially deciding to take the Skydance deal and get the hell out. So, we'll see. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
okay. I was about to say.
Yes,
I was just about to chime in, like, did I drop?
Yeah, because it was like quiet there for a long period of time.
Yeah.
I guess we just didn't know when to jump in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, that's where things lie at this particular moment in time. It's like I'm at a I'll believe it when I see it stage, given how much
Mm-hmm.
dancing around Paramount has been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Max still with us?
I'm here. This whole situation gives me a headache that wants to push my eyes out of their sockets.
I mean, yeah.
I wouldn't be.
And I suppose the big question is, will Skydance do any sort of carving? Like, and that's a big question mark in one regard. In another, it's almost certain.
Well, on that particular regard, I had some dummy in some group not understanding the difference between net operating revenue and net operating cost, because he was like, "Well, I just don't understand how you can say that they're losing money when they've got $4.6 billion worth of subscribers." And I'm like, "I'm not sure where the fuck you got that number from." But they could also be still losing $1 billion a year because their net operating costs negate the possibility of net operating profit, because their net operating cost is $1 billion more than their net operating revenue.
Yeah, well, get ready for some bloodshed. I'll tell you that right now, because it was already clear already that they were going to fire people. The 3 CEO deal that they had for a little bit with that they had
was dumb.
going before this, which was a dumb idea. But they already have put out a situation where, which, by the way, they're probably still going to be the leaders of the company until this deal goes down next year. But they've already outlined a plan for $500 million in cost savings, and quote unquote new Paramount is already out there saying that there's going to be $2 billion in cost savings. So there's going to be a lot of bloodshed, a lot of selling, a lot of firing to be done over the next year or so. Which is fun, yes. And who in the world knows who's going to be left? Who in the world knows what these new people are going to actually do when they get in charge here? I mean, they say they have plans and they have ideas, but it's one thing to put it out there, and then it's be afraid. Be very afraid.
The only thing we know for sure is that Ellis has gone on record stating that, like Zaslav, he wants Paramount to focus on tentpole franchises such as Top Gun and Mission Impossible, and Star Trek is at the forefront. Of course, he's always had a good relationship with Star Trek, but that doesn't... there's not much left to cut in Star Trek, considering the fact that there is only one actively running series, and there's talk about movies, but
Star Trek 4 is happening sometime in the next millennium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's is there a galaxy version of hell? Because that's what Star Trek 4 is in. It's like basically the cast is like, okay, when am I going to get a script?
Chris Pine made a funny observation the other day, and he said it'll be interesting to see the Kelvin Kirk now that he's older and more mature, like when we saw Shatner in Star Trek 2.
Yeah. Well,
contemplating the next phase of his life, because kind of a not so subtle dig at how long it's taking to make Star Trek 4.
Yeah. It's like, this is gonna be our last movie. Just give us something. Let's go.
Well, you see, that's not a certitude either, because like if they start a Renaissance franchise out of it, like now some people are speculating that they could start a new trilogy of films that are similar to the revival of Star Trek in the 80s with the feature films, Star Trek 2, 3, and 4, being an excellent example of why we got the Next Generation. So I mean, it's entirely possible that the Kelvin franchise could get a revival, because they don't have anything else that is viable theatrically. I mean, they're talking about making TV movies for Paramount Plus and stuff, but that being shuttled off to Netflix or some other clearinghouse, dwindling as they may be, is a real big question mark. Will they shit can Paramount Plus and sell everything, or license it more accurately to Netflix or Hulu or something like that? I think Netflix will be the more likely partner, since they've done a lot of Star Trek stuff.
Help,
Star Trek Prodigy, go watch it.
Most of their stuff was on Netflix until Paramount Plus existed.
Yeah.
So it'd just be going back home.
Yeah. Star Trek Prodigy, go watch it.
About 2 episodes into the new season.
I really liked it. It does have a slightly slow start, but that only lasts about an episode or so, and then it just goes off the rails. It's the Voyager sequel you never knew you wanted.
And I'm still not sure I want.
Just wait until a certain somebody shows up. I'm not gonna issue any spoilers here.
I mean, I've seen the Doctor.
About
Anyway.
mid-season, a certain special somebody shows up. That's all I can tell you.
As long as it's not Neelix.
No. But his character did receive a lot of hate, causing him to leave a certain show middle run.
That's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Petty Fan wants to rant about Adobe, so...
Yeah. So, who is not caught up about the going on of Adobe's new terms of service?
We welcome our new reptilian overlords. Our new AI reptilian overlords.
AI is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the skinny of it is Adobe's June 2024 update to their terms of service grants Adobe a exclusive license to anything you make using Adobe's products. That means anything. If something, and they can use it basically however they see fit. For marketing things, for training their own AI. Just, kind of terrible if you're somebody who has NDAs and stuff like that, or, professional reasons why this stuff shouldn't be shared. But yeah. And just the hilarity that is Adobe's gaslighting. Like, they're going on about how they only train specifically their Firefly AI on licensed content. Even though their terms of service gave them a license to everything you do. So everything is now licensed content they could use. But, we're all apparently dumb and don't actually know how to read. And then there's been another issue with the Creative Cloud service, people learning that canceling that is apparently not easy, and Adobe's been using fucking dark pattern bullshit, and they are currently being sued by the US government over it, because hiding fees and stuff like that, and just making it ungodly awful to try and cancel your subscription.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. So you usually are not for piracy, but if you're going to pirate Adobe software, they deserve it.
The problem is you can't do it with CC anything because and I've got a couple of productions that were started in CC that I have no choice but to renew my subscription for. Otherwise, the files are lost.
Yep.
It's just a grab so that they can feed their AI monster.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really unfortunate, and I'm sure there's going to be some interesting legal challenges on this, especially since AI-generated materials have no copyright protection whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So this idea that Adobe is going to take your stuff and then sue you for using older versions, fuck them.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck them sideways with a chainsaw.
Them thinking that they get carte blanche to use your stuff, because one analogy I've seen is somebody who sold you a paintbrush saying that now they have full exclusive right to any art made with that paintbrush, which that is a very apt analogy here. Adobe thinks that they have the right to your projects because you use their quote-unquote paintbrush.
And it's funny because that is settled law that they can't.
Yeah.
But who knows, with this lovely conservative Supreme Court supermajority hegemony,
Mm-hmm.
the law means whatever they feel like.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if California, Oregon, and Washington secede from the union after November. Thinking about moving back there so I can get universal health care. Oh, Lord.
But yeah, it's just something I felt like bringing up because I know we have several creatives who are around that they might not have heard this, because Lord knows Adobe wants this story to die.
Oh, yes. But it probably won't.
Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things and like a lot of people have mentioned, the really fucked up thing is you can't even access the software unless you agree to the terms. So you can't even pull your data out if it's on the cloud.
Mm.
So you have to basically give them this license. If they're holding your project data for ransom, essentially.
Yeah, I don't think that's how that works.
You'd be surprised. At least that's how they want it to work. There is no deny and continue. There is only accept.
But if you don't accept the terms, then they don't have the right to that stuff.
But they won't let you access it until you accept. So you can't get any of your data out. So unless you have it saved locally. I know there are several streamers I watch who they have a remote editor. And they use stuff like Adobe Cloud. So they can't access any of their footage unless they agree to give Adobe the rights to everything.
Like I said, I find this to be dubious. Because first of all, this is like signing under duress.
It literally is, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that is not a contract. But we'll leave it to the courts to figure that shit out.
Mm-hmm. I just think it's probably one of the scummiest tech things I've read in a while. You know?
Oh yeah, I do remember the outburst against Adobe.
Mm-hmm. And this isn't the first time, and it probably won't be the last.
Nope.
Remember when Adobe was a reputable company?
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I was still in high school.
That's why I still use Photoshop 7.
Yeah. Somewhere around here, I have kicking around a disk of Element 6.
Anyway,
Elements 6 and 7 don't work so well under Windows 10. I have Elements 9, though.
All I know is I'm not getting Creative Cloud, that's for damn sure.
I mean, I'm staying with CS6 as long as I can, but...
Right.
What were you going to say, Adam?
I'm like, it must be getting rather creaky there.
It still works just fine, and it has, I mean, it doesn't have the new H.265 format, but it has
It does
the
have
264.
plugin support, though, so...
Yeah.
That was the last version of CS, right?
Yeah.
So somebody has probably made a plugin for it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the Red Giant software that I use for like planet generation and stuff like that is still compatible with CS6 for the most part.
Because I've switched to Vegas. I had from a Humble Bundle, I got Vegas 14, and I just had to go grab a plugin for H.264 so I could do Twitch clips.
Right.
So it's like, why would I want to pay $400 for a new version when I can download a free plugin?
That's a good question.
It's very apt. But yeah, this is definitely something to keep an eye on, especially for the creatives in the audience. If you can get out of a Photoshop contract, definitely do that.
Oh, just stop paying them.
Yeah.
Stop paying them and cancel the card that they're charging, and eventually they'll deactivate your software and account. Takes about a year.
Yeah.
But
it's
there's always Microsoft Clipchamp. It's free.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it crashes most systems that I've run it on.
Indeed.
I
honestly
that's
forgot
Microsoft.
It was a thing.
Yeah.
Run it on ARM. I'm kidding.
Get a Snapdragon processor.
Yeah.
Oh God, Microsoft and their bloody virtualization crapple of requirements for Windows 11. That's really why all the restrictions is because, as Alina pointed out to me, it's their utilization of virtualization is 150% higher than in Windows 10.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also I believe it's the TPM module bullshit.
Well, I mean, yeah, but the TPM has been available since 2015. There's still a lot of chips that don't have enough horsepower to do the level of virtualization that they're trying to implement. So the TPM, yes, is definitely a part, but like Asus has been putting TPM 2.0 standard in their motherboard since 2015.
Right.
So 9 years.
Both AMD and Intel, as of like it's probably like 6 years ago now, the TPM modules are in the chip, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so, possibly. But again, it's the virtualization capabilities that are more important. AMD went to a unified code. So if you download the latest BIOS updates for, say, your 300, 400, and 500 series motherboards, you can run the full range of processors, whereas previously that was not possible.
For the most part, it depends on the VRMs of the board and stuff like that, because some of the cheap boards, they go new when you try and go with the, higher end stuff. But yeah.
Well, I mean, also socket AM5, but
yeah,
being an issue. But that would be the only restriction at this point. Especially the 400 series motherboards, they are all you have to do is update their BIOS and they'll run the full range of chips that are AM4 processor capable.
And even some of the they've basically been backporting some of the AM5 chips to basically restock it into AM4, which is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we keep supporting sockets, children.
For all of my systems incompatible with Windows 11, I will probably be dropping Linux on them and then selling them.
Yeah. Yeah,
At some point. Right now, it's not a priority.
Yeah, I just had to help get my mom's stuff set up to update to Windows 11. That was fun.
That's how I broke my VTubing machine, because it has a 7700K. It'll work if you do the workaround, but you really have to have a 7800K or better in order to run it. It's one of those things to where Microsoft did this thing to where they'll go back to Gen 6, but only if you have, so like the X99 motherboard has a TPM module header that you can upgrade it to 2.0, and then but a 5820K won't work, but a 6800 will, and a 6900 series processor will. But if you go over to like an i5 or whatever, the 6500 will not. So it's, and then you go up a generation to the 7, which is supposedly the entry point for Windows 11, and the 7700K, which is a very powerful processor, does not. But the 7800, which I think is a hex core processor,
yeah, does. It was that generation was real weird on the processor count.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were like high on glue or something like that when they designed that generation. Yeah,
because the 5820 is a quad-core processor, and the 6800 and the 6900 are hex-core processors, if I remember correctly.
So it was either 8 or 9 9th gen. I don't remember off the top of my head, and I don't have anything open to really look.
The 9900K is very, very popular right now. You can get motherboard, processor, and RAM combos for like $450 a mere.
Yeah, because they're right on the sweet spot. They're like one of the last ones that support some of the old game technologies.
Yeah,
but it
I've been seeing a lot of 360
accept a
boards.
TPM module if you need to update to new version of Windows.
Yep. So yeah, I got some free 7700Ks, and I'm routing them for quasi Windows 11 compatibility, because it can be done. I just don't want to erase the hard drives. That's all.
Yeah. I mean,
but
I guess
Microsoft may make that inevitable.
The joke of get another hard drive, but yes.
Well, when I did get a free 460B motherboard, so I'll be getting that. I'll be getting that 10900 series i9 processor when I build my 4090 system.
Is that before or after you win the lottery?
Yes.
Because you just about need to win the lottery for a 4090.
I've seen them as low as $1597 on eBay.
Yeah, and they've probably been, in some sort of mining hellscape.
Yeah. Oh, why is this card vibrating so hard?
Yeah, why is this card vibrating and smell like rat piss?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's because it was in an open box in a data center.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess anything else anybody else wants to talk about?
I think we're good.
Not much. I mean, jokes aside, I am going to build a 10900 at some point. I'm just looking at the 3090s and the 4090s because I have a 1,000-watt power supply that has the 450 header on it, the 12-pin header. So it's not good for anything else because it's a modular power supply that doesn't have any other cables.
Oh, be careful if you ever have to look in replacing cables.
I can't find cables for this. It has the 8-pin motherboard connector, it has the 24-pin ATX connector, and it has the 450 connector on it. So this is going to be an M2 12-pin graphics card, single graphics card configuration. Doubt I could afford more.
You don't want to fucking try and shove two 4090s in a computer.
I think I'd rather buy a house.
I think I'd rather, not make it a miniature sun in my room.
I think I'd rather buy a house in Del Mar.
Basically.
Yeah, I think I'd rather buy a house in Hollywood.
Yeah. Hell, just trying to light that up would probably initiate a fusion reaction.
I'd probably need dual 4090s to mine enough Bitcoin to afford the house, but
Anyway.
Woo!
Anyway.
Alright, so let's see what we got here on the schedule here. Well, goddammit, July 17th says, Inside the Studio, what happened?
Guest that tried to have on the show several times canceled out again, so fuck it.
Alright.
Fuck it, we've all.
We'll see what kind of corpses we can dig up between now and then.
It'll be me.
I mean, Golix is working on a guest.
Yeah, I need to get back in touch with him. Last I heard, he was trying to figure out if the time slot worked for him.
All right, well, we'll have a guest again on July 24th, which will be Carlos Faraz of Wicked Comics. Carlos Faraz of Wicked Comics. And in the meantime, on July 17th, we'll have an Inside the Studio episode where we will be ranting and raving about technology and entertainment in general. So tune in, be there, be square, as I like to say. Until then, I guess I'm your host, Mac Paladin, on behalf of the crew at Moonhawk Studios Presents. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, kids.